Hey everybody, it's Casual Boops coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing the Lorraine 50t, one of the new Tier 9 reward tanks that is available for the Battle Pass for 2022, and this is the only one you can get this season, and then of course next season the Cobra will be available, and I don't have access to that, can't talk about it, whatever. Anyways, the Lorraine 50t I have had the chance to play a few times on the Sheriff account and on the Press account and so on and so forth, so I can get you guys an idea of what the tank plays like. So we'll get into it now. Okay, so when we're looking at the stats in the Lorraine 50t, I mean, a lot of these tanks, obviously you can go to tanks.gg and you can look these stats up for yourself, so I won't spend too much time obsessing over every detail. I'm going to try to cover the high points, the low points, and let you go from there. So the things I noticed, first of all, the DPM is very low. You'll notice that this is very low for a tank that does not have an autoloader, and you definitely notice that. 400 damage is good. Like, the tank hits fine, but it's like the DPM, you notice that you have to wait a long time, and if there's a 1v1, you're going to lose that 1v1 because something else is probably going to have the better DPM than you. So that's something to be aware of. The standard pen is 264, which is pretty on par. That's pretty good. I mean, pretty standard. Like 268 is like a standard tier 8 or tier 9 penetrate. Sorry, 268 is like a pretty standard like tier 10 penetration. So this is like pretty good, and you don't need to tap to a whole lot, but if you do, the premium pen's 308, which is fine. So these are all good. The soft stats are fine, the dispersion is fine, everything about this is just fine. It's just fine. The radio range, or sorry, the view range is not very good necessarily. 380 is a little bit on the blah side, but like the one thing, before I get into the mobility here, the mobility is the real high point. One thing I found to be very annoying, and it's easy to gloss over this, the crew layout is extremely irritating, and this is why. Almost every high tier or mid to high tier French heavy tank in the game has either a 5-man crew, because they're like the Lorraine 40t, or no, I'm sorry, the FCM 50t, where they've got one of everything, right? A commander, gunner, loader, radio man, etc., 5. Or some of them have like the 4-man crew for the auto loaders that have you know what, let me just show you. I'm not going to try to do it from memory. French tier 10 heavies. So this is one and this is the other. There's an auto loader and there's a single shot. The auto loaders look like this. There's a 4-man crew, but it's a giant mess and everybody's a loader, right? Which is a giant pain for intuition. If you're trying to train intuition, you need to, in order to get the full effectiveness of intuition, you need to have it on every loader. Fun fact. So that means you got to train it on your radio guy, your gunner, and your commander. What a nightmare. So that's this is that layout though. So your commander is your loader. The other common layout is a 5-man crew like this. There is not a single damn French heavy tank in the game that has this loadout, this crew layout. So you might be saying, why does that matter? Okay, well, why that matters is if you are like most people, and I think that I'm like most people, I do not train premium tanks, or in this case a reward tank. I don't train a crew for that tank. I take a crew that I'm training from some other tank and I toss it in this one. That's the whole benefit of the reward tanks, is you don't need to train a crew specifically for that tank. But in this case, if you do that, you will never have a commander that has the radio man skills, and there's a very important radio man skill that gives you more view range, which is the situational awareness. Gives you 3% to your base view range, as opposed to the recon, which gives you only 2% to your base view range. So it's actually better than the commander skill. So you'll never have that. You'll never have that in your commander unless you train a crew specifically for this tank. I hate when they do this. Why do they keep doing this? Just make it a 5-man crew, or make it a 4-man crew, or make it match something. Pet peeve of mine. Why do they keep doing this? So that I found to be very annoying. With that being said, some of the other good stuff about it, it does have an exceptionally high top speed of 60 and a power to weight, which is 16, which is pretty good for a heavy tank, but I'll get to that. And then like the terrain resistances are pretty solid. Like, these are not bad. 10 degrees of gun depression all around except for the back, right? This is a graph of a chart of what the gun depression looks like, and what that tells you is like the inner circle is 10 degrees, and it says, okay, if you turn the turret almost all the way around, it gets 10 degrees, but then over the back you see it bumps up to 3, right? So you can only depress the gun 3 degrees over the back. That's what this means. It's got 15 degrees of gun elevation everywhere. So you can, and that makes sense. That's what this is. So if you think about it a little bit, you'll understand. But 10 degrees almost everywhere, which is good. And then the turret armor, that's the other notable thing. So it's surprisingly quick. The final dispersion is fine. It hits for 400. It's got good speed. And then the turret armor is solid, right? So here's the thing. So we'll get into the armor. We're getting into the armor right now. I'm just going to help myself later when I try to organize this. So when you get into the armor, though, the hull is absolute cheese. It's garbage. The hull is just bad. I don't think I've ever bounced anything off the hull. And the turret is just okay. It's all right. It's got this cupola, but that is admittedly kind of hard to see. If you look at the live or the visual model, there's all this junk. I don't know. It's just like hidden by other doodads and stuff. So I will say the cupola is a little bit hard to see. So it's got that going for it. These rangefinders are not modeled, so that's not a part of the actual tank. Yeah, I don't think that they are. It doesn't matter. The whole side, whatever. So the front of the turret is the only part of this tank that has any armor whatsoever. And if you hit below the gun, you're going to go in either way. If somebody's if you're close to this, one of these things. The thing that I find very annoying is literally every other aspect. If you turn the turret even a little bit and you're trying to face more than one enemy, you're going to get penned. The armor only literally works if it's front toward enemies. So I've had a lot of trouble. I've played probably 24 games in this thing, and I've had exactly one game that was worth showing to you, which I will now show to you after this is done. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that, like, it's very hard to use. Like, the armor can work, but only when you're hull down and there's only one enemy, right? Because as soon as you try to angle or use armor against more than one, as soon as you're not looking straight at somebody, the armor is garbage. Like, look at this. I got penned once by an artillery for 1700. That ended the game pretty quick. Because the entire rest of this thing is 70, 40 in the top. I mean, 40 in the side. Like, it's garbage. Like, 30 in the rear. Like, so it's not a heavy tank. I want to like this tank a lot because it's very quick, right? And I actually, the way you know what? I'll keep the actual things. I'll keep the commentary to the end here. But basically, the field mods, the builds I would do, what I tested was, of course, the all-terrain suspension. Of course, the parallax adjustment, always the view range. I tested mobility slot and then reverse speed, and then you automatically get the large first aid kit. I had a decent crew, but again, not the freaking situational awareness. I put food in because I'm a tryhard, and I had a turbo in the mobility slot because we're gonna, it's all about the speed, and then just a rammer and a V-stab. This is what I ran. And that gets you almost 18 power to weight and a 65 top speed, which is really good. I mean, it moves faster than some medium tanks. I rushed from the base to the hill of Serene Coast. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Serene Coast. There's a hill where a lot of tanks where you brawl and you use your turret and your gun depression. I brought this tank to that space, and I beat medium tanks there. So the speed is legit, and the turret face is legit. But while I was up there, I got penned by artillery for 1700, and then I instantly died. So, like, I want to like this tank a lot because it seems like it could do really great things. But Jesus, the amount of, like, it's just so hard to use because it's so specific in what it needs. You need friends because you don't have the DPM. You need only one enemy, and you need to be hull down. And if you don't have any of those things, you are just SOL. So I want to like the thing, but after 25 games of mediocrity, badness to mediocrity, I'm really having a hard time. I don't think that I'm probably going to play this tank ever. So anyways, without further ado, we'll get into the gameplay. All right, so we're going to be starting out the game watching me. I'm playing in my press account, and it's anonymized, and I had to do all this stuff just so I could get a decent game. And we're playing on Highway. It's a tier 10 game. Tier 9s are also in the game, and also tier 8s. One artillery per team, and I have decided to, how I've determined to play the tank is to pretend that it's not a heavy tank. It's a confused heavy tank. It's a medium tank, right? If you just ignore the fact that Wargaming has decided to call this thing a heavy tank, it is a decent medium tank, right? So look at how fast it is. I'm going faster than that GSOR. I'm beating the Scorpion G. I'm of course outracing our Patriot, and I'm going 58 right now, and I'm rushing straight to A1. Only because I know that I can't really be hull down in the city. I've tried this, I've tried all this before, and I've been hurt so many times. Excuse me, I'm gonna change the the view there so we can see the tank line up. But you can see I'm doing 65, right? This thing actually gets there. So ignore that it's being called a heavy tank. It's a medium tank that looks like a heavy tank. And so I'm able to get to this position here and get here safe, and I've beat all the enemies. I never got spotted, so we're going to crest the hill here very carefully and see what we can't see. But you notice I don't really have that great a view range, so I only just spot this CS, tag him for 445, and we pull back down the hill before we get, you know, rained on or anything like that. So, but this is kind of the whole thing. As soon as I leave this hull down space, I'm just SOL. There's nothing I can do. And our Scorpion, that was a bad move. Scorpion learned an important lesson there. Like, all the guns that I'm sure were up on the hill, and this is risky. I don't really want to go over the hill too much. I didn't really want to do that, but I needed him to die before he got dug into this spot right here where we are. So, when I shot the CS and got spotted, you know, everybody that's at A6 or along the red line there is going to be looking, right? And so everybody had pre-aimed my position, and while I was pulled back, he went up to that same bush and shot. So they were all ready. They were all right there, and he shot one time, got spotted, and got evaporated. So that's... He should have known not to do that, I don't know if he knows, but he's dead now. So, anyway, so we see this even 90 that's running around seemingly without a care in the world in our like inside the middle there. That's going to light all of our mediums and all of our tank destroyers that are back. So I'm trying to feather a shot here, and this guy's still alive. I don't understand. So I realize, of course, now that pushing from A1 into A6 into that valley is just a death sentence. If you go in there, you're gonna die, right? There's like, I don't know how many tank destroyers. Probably there's a super conch back there because that one shot me, and there's a whole bunch. If you look in the top right, we don't know where the E4 is, we don't know where the Sturb is, we don't know where 2 GSORs are. So I'm assuming that all of those things are just along that ridge line, along the A6 B6 area, just sitting there waiting to shoot me if I drive down there. So I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to come back in here again. Forget that I'm a heavy tank. I'm a medium tank with lots of hit points, and I'm just going to go. I'm going to try to drive down through the city, and I'm going to take this even 90 out of the game, assuming our Barax doesn't do it first. And that's my whole plan. And I'm just going to pretend like I'm a medium tank. The way to do this is to basically, if you get down by that bridge and then you skirt underneath the guns, you get underneath the hillside there, that will allow you to do some spotting. And then, especially since I have, you know, the heavy tank and then 2 TDs backing me up, I figure, okay, I can get some really good spotting from here because they're ready to shoot. So that's my plan. And again, this is something you would normally never do in a heavy tank, but because I'm a medium tank, this kind of makes sense. And our light tank is dead. So assuming I'm probably gonna get tagged by a tank destroyer, and there it is. But I don't know how the shot missed. I should have probably waited, held the shot. But you want to tuck into this bridge, right? Because there's probably guys at A6, and there's definitely guys at E9. But this guy, the even 90, needed to die. He needed to die, and then of course I'm tucked in here. I'm fairly safe since there are no enemy tanks at A2. Tanks at A2 could have shot me where I am right now. I wouldn't be safe at all. But since we own that, I can be here and be okay. I'm trying to get a shot in at this at the Oho, but these are pretty long shots. So it didn't really go where I wanted it to, but also this is like 500 meters. Like, this is the edge of, you know, view range, and I see an E4 that pulls back. So we're just gonna see if we can get some free damage in here. And that's unlucky, but I'm looking here and I'm seeing, all right, the heavy tank side is totally gone. Those guys are dead. There's an E3 and a Chieftain and a Maushin that's not engaged. They're severely outnumbered. They're gonna die. So the only way that I'm gonna make anything in this game happen, I've only shot 2 times. I got less than 800 damage, and it's less than, you know, 700 spotting or whatever. Is I'm gonna do this whole spotting thing. I'm gonna spot whatever's in this ridge. I'm gonna hopefully farm a bunch of assistance, and this game will be decent, right? But like, once again, this is something you would do in a medium tank, but certainly not a heavy tank. So, you know, we're chugging along, doing 30. Like, this doesn't feel great. You kind of do need a little bit of a wind up, right? You notice when I did this before, when I got a big run at it, right, from the base, you know, it took about half the map, but I was able to get up to 65, 70, or what it was, 65. But here we are. You know, we're able to spot this guy, and I can peek on him and bounce things, and it doesn't go where I wanted it to, but I can do that because the turret is okay, and I'm just looking at that one guy, right? But if there were multiple people, I couldn't possibly angle the armor. So we're going to skirt along the side here and just be somewhere I'm not expected to be, and keep lighting things. I've already got, that gave me 2,000 spotting, so this game has already been kind of saved, I guess. but I can't see anything. Everybody's out spotting me because the view range is 380 base, and I don't have the, even with a god tier crew, I still don't have situational awareness. So the crew is not, like, the view range is still not great. So it's very annoying. Like, I hate the things that they do with the crew. Why would they do that? This is so irritating. Like, just make it a normal crew. Why would you be gimped? This thing is never... Oh, and here we go. I spotted the E4, and I thought for sure I'm going to die now. And I can't believe it. I bounced something, and you see me looking. I'm looking to see, like, I don't know where that hit. I don't know how I possibly bounced that. I'm not sure what happened, but somehow I don't know. He had my full side. He must have shot me right in the turret face, and that was the end of the game. And you know, that would have been the end of my game, but anyways. So we're cresting this hill. I'm going to blend a shot on the GSOR, but again, tanks are going to be coming back from the city because they've just won the city. The game is over. We've lost the game. I'm just trying to farm as much damage and assistance out of this game as I possibly can. So I crest the ridge again like an idiot and trying to get one more shot, and I do. I kill the GSOR and then immediately get evaporated. And that's basically it. We ended up losing the game, which is pretty normal. I mean, that's pretty much how it goes, right, guys? But based on where the team is, we don't own the city area. Like, the game is over, right? So, all right. So at the end of the game, we ended up taking home 1,900 damage, 3 kills, and 3,000 spotting. Managed to block 1,700. That's kind of remarkable. And then that got us 596 base XP because we did all that spotting. And most of the things we shot were within our own spotting, so we spotted our own targets. And also economically ended up, I think we shot a couple of premium rounds, and I had premium consumables and so on and so forth. So we did end up losing 8,000 credits, but I think most of that is the consumables. You know, I had the food and everything else. So, you know, economically, I think this is going to be fine. You don't need to, the gun's fairly accurate for the most part, and you don't need to shoot a lot of premium. So economically, it's fine. But at the same time, like I said, I played like 15, 20 games in this thing, and I just wasn't that impressed with it. I just couldn't seem to get the thing to, it just seems like it needs a lot. Needs a lot of situations. It needs a very specific situation to do well in, and the mobility is really great, and the turret face is pretty great, but that's pretty much where the good times stop. So let me know what you guys think. If this is a tank you're going to grind for, if you care about it, if this has changed your mind and you all of a sudden don't want it, that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of just don't care about this anymore. I thought I would like it a lot more than I do. So anyways, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, thanks, bye.